Good evening, everyone. Russell Wright, Sue Bell, hopefully soon enough, Jimmy Kelly, and we might have some other team members on the call. No promises there, but Sue and I are here. This is the Director's Cut and Network Empire team. I am really glad to see everyone. We have people still flowing in to the call with amazing personal discipline. You guys have all shown up here. I know some of you are East Coast, and we have West Coast. We have people actually from all over the world here on this Director's Cut call. And of course, tonight you're getting Sue Bell's desktop. And she has quick like a bunny put away the thousands of software program lines of code that we're working on and stuff that is so hard for me. We try to keep up with each other between my process maps and the marketing and planning department and hers and keeping all the developers in check. We have to put all of our desktop stuff away to jump on these calls. So thanks for doing that, Sue. Looks like, wow, sure. almost 100 people in here. Hopefully I don't have too much of a delay. So it's really, really good to see. We're just going to let a few people continue to roll in tonight. And again, it's the same process. If you haven't been on one of these Q&As before, just know that you can answer the questions. I will try to nail them on the way by on the stream of questions that sometimes fly past us. There's so many people on these calls that we've got to grab them, and then we try to go through them. And wow, it looks like we have people from Africa here tonight. And it's interesting, Matt DeCruz, who heads up our Tech Foundation 1 training session, is from South Africa. So it's good to see, wow, there's people chiming in from all over the world here. This is really huge. Thanks, Melanie. She says Sue is incredible. I agree, she is. Let me see what else we've got going on. As you begin to come in here, let me just have a one so that I know that you hear me talking, and I'm not, again, talking to myself, which I do frequently, by the way. That's how I get most of my planning done. And then if it starts to get too weird,
in the shower.
and if it starts to get too weird, and I find myself talking for more than a half an hour to myself, I'll Skype Sue, and she'll either let me talk or hang up on me. It depends on her mood. Okay, so, wow, okay, we have plenty of people here. It's good to see you, Chris Lee Fernandez, also. He says, guys, nice to be here again from Newport, Rhode Island. Fantastic. Uh-oh, you've got 2 coffees there, and we have our friends from Africa. They had to caffeinate. Interesting. I bet that's
This is some strong coffee.
That's seriously strong coffee, yeah. How does Sue put up with me, somebody asked. I'm not going to mention who you are by name, because I know all of my fans will try to hunt you down. Just kidding, Mario. Question for Sue. Mary is saying she missed the instructions on how to keep a drop-down menu from appearing when using the silo builder. Can you please show how to do this again? Okay. Yeah, and we also have a help file for that. We have a help file for that. That's our famous sentence at this time
right.
in history. However, we also want to show you guys stuff directly. Just know that. I wanted you guys to be aware that we have upwards of 30 to 50 help desk tickets per day. Now that's not related to you. That's fine. But we like to work with you guys. That's why we get on these calls, because we have found that working with you guys one-on-one and gals has really brought that down. And I just wanted to throw that out there. If for some reason you are not able to get the help that you need here on this call, and we do our very, very best to make sure that everybody gets assistance, don't hesitate to hit up, our team on the help desk ticket. I'll take on those tickets when I can, and we'll answer as much as we can, okay? Somebody's asked if my client sites are pretty much static. Oh, by the way, those tickets need to be related to stuff we've taught, not OMG, not general stuff, and not other teachers like Greg Morrison or anything else. You can go to the email inside the Director's Cut for that. Sue, someone's saying here, if my client site's pretty much static, is the best option if I want steady content to maximize RSS to put up a subdomain? And if I do this, is the PinVid plugin a good option for that? Is there training for that plugin? So on and so forth.
Steady content, client sites. Here's the thing with a client site. If you put up a PinVid on a client site, it would depend strongly on the client, because a lot of folks are going to get bent out of shape because those PinVid sites can drag in videos from competitors, and that kind of thing, and so I'm very hesitant to put pin vids on the subdomain for the client.
Yeah, and our official response on that was, we know that there's some rumors going around inside the community about that. Cotton came out and said that he was doing that in some situations, and I think that's where this kind of started. Our official position on that, as Sue has just said, and hers specifically, is you got to be careful with that. So I'm not going to repeat what she just said, but it is. I keep getting this question, and I just wouldn't do it. You know, there are times when I have done it, but it's not on client side. That's on my own. I guess I can say that safely. And it does work, but you got to realize that I wouldn't put it on anything that I was not clear about, because there's branding issues. Remember, a money site is a WR1 site, and the way we teach our advanced methodologies is that we have a lot of layers, you know, to our networks. And so when you're going to do stuff like that, you don't want to put them on your primary money layer. That's enough for there. So how do you want this to roll today, Sue?
All right, so first of all, I'm going to go back to the first question about menus. So I just checked the menu that I've got on this site because it's a pretty generic site.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the default theme, and there's no drop-down in the top menu bar. So by default, the theme that you're working with probably has a menu with drop-downs in it. And so I would disengage that menu and come here to the menu options and create a menu here, and then those won't have drop-downs on them.
Okay.
And then there was another question that was just going to scroll by here if I don't catch it. Last week, this is David's question. He said, last week I said something about if I have a customer who didn't want to change their existing site by doing sitename.com/blog. Exactly how does this work? Don't want to change their existing site. All right. So if you have a customer that doesn't want to change their existing site, you got two options. You can do a subdomain, which is going to give you a completely different WordPress install on their same domain, which sometimes works out really nicely because then you get to keep the branding. So you can do something like news. Let me make this bigger. You can do something like news, mysite.com, and that'll give you a brand new blog install. The other thing that we do sometimes, if they don't want to give up any control on their domain whatsoever, then you can do like www.my-site.com. Just make it a variation of a theme so you still keep the branding in the domain name. But you get total control over the domain. You can give it to them when you leave, but in the meantime, you've got control over what you need to do. Hang on just a second. Jimmy is going to get on the webinar here, so let me just ping him and say that we're rocking and rolling.
To answer some of your questions while she's doing that, just to clarify, Sue was just showing you, and Mary thanks you for that, Sue, that the default drop-down menu is something she'd not thought about. So that's one way to get rid of that. Many people are asking when the OneFeed Supercharger is going to release. I'm going to answer that by saying we are still in beta. It is done. It is done. You guys will be the first to know is the answer for tonight, unless Sue provides additional information. It's going to be inexpensive. So some of you are asking the price range. I'm sure you're thinking like $97 or $100 and something. I don't even think that's going to be the price for the pre-release. It'll be much less than that. Like everybody can get their hands on it. And I want to actually make sure that everybody gets their hands on it in this group. So we'll work all that out, and it's going to be incredibly reasonable. So let's not ask any more about the OneFeed Supercharger tonight because it actually fills up a lot of space in our questions. I promise you guys, I'm just as excited as you are about it. And Sue won't even tell me precisely when the date will be. She's like, I'll tell you when I'm ready to tell you. Finally, she just mutes me. Okay?
Right.
All right. So if I can't get that information out of her, you guys certainly aren't. So just hang on just know that you guys will be the first of the first to have access to that, okay? there's something that came by. Somebody asked a quick question that's kind of in my terrain on the 5 iframe punch on the Scoop It. I'm sorry that you're having difficulty with Scoop It, Ken. Without actually doing one-on-one coaching and this and that, I don't really know precisely what the problem is there. You really don't need a paid version of Scoop It to be able to scoop videos into Scoop It. Free is fine if you guys are on a budget, and I recommend that everybody stay on their budget and you manage your expenses as you start to build momentum in your business. This is good planning. Scoop It is not something that you would really need to buy first or pay for first. The free version will work fine until you start rolling along with your content broadcasting. Yeah, and Jeff is saying that Guillaume changed his policy. Now it's just a 7-day free trial. Okay, that's news to me, Jeff. Thanks for telling me that. I know that Guillaume has been playing with a bunch of payment models. It's not my business, so sorry about that. I was not aware of that, and I apologize to anybody who was hoping that it was indefinitely free. So that's new. I will tell you this, that running a curation operation on a server is not a profitable business. So I can see why he changed his model. He's giving away all his link juice to you guys. Let's see, Sue, what do you want to go from here? Do you want to stick to the graph? I mean, to the spreadsheet?
Yes, if Janice is going to ask me a question about silos, then
Sure.
I'll grab her. But for the moment, while she's typing that in, let's come back here to the questions. So, first question for the night. Does it mean that when we try to rank for supporting pages within a silo, it will boost the keyword of the silo? For example, is it the way to rank green smoke by ranking green smoke review or green smoke starter kit and green smoke coupon? So what the question is if you rank these pages down here, does that help to rank these pages up here? And that is absolutely true. So you're doing two things when you rank these pages down here. First of all, because they're long tails, they're going to rank faster and easier. It's going to increase the domain authority to the entire site, and it's going to increase the thematic relevance to the page. So yes, it makes it much easier to rank the silo pages. In fact, we teach at Network Empire that you back yourself into the site. You start with the bottom echelon and rank your way back up. So great question. Next one, Jackie. If I build the inner pages and the Weebly page to link to it at the same time, is it an absolute must to make sure that the inner page is indexed first, otherwise the Weebly page will link to a non-indexed page? No. So part of the ways that you get pages ranked is to have a link to them. So if your Weebly page indexes first and ranks first, it'll just help your site page to get ranked and do what you want it to do. So it's fine. Todd asks, how do you use Silo Builder to power up a PBN, or can you even do that? So Silo Builder is, it just creates a pretty static site, right? So Silo Builder, and we now have 3 Silo plugins, but all of those plugins I use typically on the money site for various purposes, or at least on the primary domains. And so what I would use to power up a PBN would be vCraken, because that's an automatic, it creates content automatically, and so you can set it to just drip content in once or twice a month, and or at whatever speed you want, depending on your service, your hosting provider, and you will be good to go. I use that, and I use Social Explosion so that I get backlinks automatically to those new posts, and it works like a charm. So, we got any questions that have come in over those last couple questions that I answered?
Some of these questions are so huge that they take up a whole screen, so I'm actually still parsing.
Okay.
One thing I would say to Dustin real quick about this monstrously huge question about Social Explosion is I'm going to leave it up to Sue to how deep she wants to get in our own applications. This is borderline on a help desk question, and we have a fanatical help desk and support team. You're asking specifically, I just want to make sure that everybody does know that we have a help desk for the software stuff. It runs, and you should be able to submit that. Other than that, I'll leave that. Some of the basic Social Explosion issues are that the one thing that we have to watch, Dustin, which we talked about last week, was that if you submit the RSS feed inside Social Explosion, it's going to queue all of the links on that RSS feed that you queue. And just if you delete the feed, it's not going to stop those things from having been promoted or scheduled. Okay. In fact, there is no undo in Social Explosion. Let me repeat that. Guys, at this time, there is no undo. If you submit something, you're going to want to make sure that before you submit a feed or you promote, that's going to go out. It's going to get scheduled. Okay. So that's the main thing. Okay, Dustin's saying that answered both questions. Okay, so be careful what you blow up. Like, don't blow up yourself, and make sure before you pull the trigger that you're sure what you want to blow up. Okay. There's a really great question.
Blowing up?
We're talking about your authority before you explode your authority. One of the things I wanted to say to you guys, there was a really great question. I don't know why, I just feel like addressing it. It said here that Cotton mentioned, and if Jimmy's on the call, this will be more useful, that Google does not there is no dupe content penalization for local modifiers. Can you please clarify? I get that. I've gotten that question a couple times. And now I know where it came from. It came from Cotton's webinar. Could you answer that more clearly?
Yeah. So it's absolutely true at the moment. So if you've got, let's just come back here to our web page model again so that I'm not talking completely abstractly. Let's say that you've got this set of pages about Phoenix and you've got this set of pages about LA. And pretty much you get the same content between these two, like this page and this page are basically identical except for the local modifiers. So I'm still seeing that work, although I have to say Matt Cutts came out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking 18 months ago, and said, don't do that. You got to change up the content with more than just the local modifiers. So while I'll say, yes, for the moment that works, I'm not going to make any promises as to how long that's going to work. I went through great pains on the directories that I've put out to make sure that I've got pretty distinct content on each page. So
yeah, but I've recently...
And
there's some people, in fact, a buddy in here who's actually worked with this script. There's scripts out there that will create like 50,000 pages for every location with the same content, only changes the local modifier. And you know who I'm talking about because he and I hang out. That stuff is still working, hand over fist. Okay, Melanie is saying I'm cutting out. Can somebody tell me if I'm cutting out? Melanie, I think it's you.
I'm not hearing you cut out.
Yeah, it's Melanie. She's cutting out. Nah, it's all you, girl.
Yeah.
So the thing is that's still working, but again, what I would caution you, for those of you using those kinds of scripts, is don't depend on them. You know, it's not going to, as Sue was telling you right now, it's not going to last, and there's almost never been, in fact, there has never been anything she said is not going to last that hasn't at some point then disappeared. So I wouldn't, you know, I make some money off that type of script and this and that, but dang, if that was the only thing I was doing, I would be, you know, diversifying and straight.
Yeah, if your livelihood depends on it, I wouldn't go down that path.
Just change.
If it's something that you're doing on the side, and you know, it doesn't mean that it's just another log in the fire, then that's cool.
Yeah, and we don't really know when it'll change either, so we're not saying.
No.
Do you?
Yeah.
Although you're accurate sometimes.
I always know everything. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Anyway, back to Jazz's question. We have, she's saying with an e-commerce site where the product categories are siloed, how damaging is it to put related product links on each product page that are in different silos? Oh, girlfriend, why do you want to do that? This is something that the client wants. Oh, I see. But I realize this is silo architecture.
That's what Amazon
I'm hoping
does, essentially.
There's an exemption somehow. Now, Amazon is actually pretty darn good about keeping it within the same silo. They have a few exceptions to this, but
often. Yeah, I mean,
so they actually go through a sorting process, okay, and they will put the most similar products first, so that you have to like. The majority of the products are going to be as closely related to the product that's on that page as possible. So, and I would do the same thing, like where possible I would have products in the same silo. However, I completely understand the occasional link off to another silo, and you know, especially when you're talking e-commerce, because this product relates to that product. They're in different silos, but dang, it's an add-on to the first product that you're buying, you know, like a a grill and you're going to buy charcoal, right? So like, yeah, I would do that, and I'll
Gotcha.
take visitor usability over silo technicality.
Yeah, in the early years we called this behavioral indexing, right, Sue? That's when Amazon was still adding those related things, and they're mostly in the same silos. But again, another thing about Amazon is they're like a domain authority of 2 million, I mean, they don't have to theming is not, they stay pretty themed though, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Greg says, for an e-commerce site, is there a preferred method to use social explosion in conjunction with any of the DAS techniques? What works best for building domain authority and ranking? A preferred method. I don't know that there's a preferred method. If it's possible, if you can, like if there's a feed out of your e-commerce site that you can throw into social explosion, that's great. If you can't throw the feed, if there's nothing coming out of your e-commerce site that's worth throwing into social explosion, if you don't have regular turnover on new products and stuff, then if you've got, like typically you're going to have a blog or something where you regularly promote your products. And I would use social explosion for that, where you're regularly talking about the stuff that's new and on sale and seasonal and that kind of thing. And you can also use social explosion for the feeds that come out of your social media accounts. So those are the two things that I would use. And yeah, it works in conjunction with DAS. It'll help build your domain authority on your main site, on your mini site.
Excellent. Hi, Jimmy. I think Jimmy is here.
Oh, excellent. We shall promote him.
Hang on, I'm frantically trying to find Welcome to the Jungle theme song.
Oh,
you got
excellent.
it? Okay. Okay. Linda Joseph is asking a question consistently she's not getting an answer to, so I'd like to try to take care of it once and for all. I think, for me, the question's not 100% clear, but she's saying existing site client doesn't want to change and use subdomain or new domain with hyphens. Does the content for this new site have to be unique? I don't quite understand the question there. So. Okay,
so this was back to, we were talking earlier about this kind of a concept where you get the client who doesn't want to modify their original site. So here's the thing. So they don't want to change and use a subdomain or a new domain with hyphens.
Well, nobody wants to change. I was kidding.
Yeah. Does the content for the new site have to be unique? So if the new site is on a different domain, technically the content does not have to be unique. Only one site is going to rank, but if that's the site that you're building, and that's the one that's properly SEO'd and yada yada, then that's fine. I'm just trying to think this all the way through with all the stuff, all the new stuff that's coming down the pike based on Google authorship and blah blah blah. So just give me a second to reprocess that.
Did we give Jimmy access? Is he in as a speaker?
I thought he did. Yeah,
he's in there like.
He's just being really quiet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi, Jimmy. Just want to make sure that you were able to get in is all.
So yeah, for right this minute at least, there's not a problem with, so the thing that I'm looking at is the original site is going to be the older site. The content's going to have hung out there longer than it will have hung out on the new site. It's not a problem right this minute as far as I know. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not a problem right this minute. There might be a point in time where, like yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think you can have the same content on both domains. So long as they're absolutely separate domains, it should be fine.
Do you have an opinion on that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the question was. I was having audio difficulties when I first
Oh, that's
started.
okay. That's all right. We can move on. Sue answered it very prolifically. Okay, should we go back to the spreadsheet? People have started to slow down a little bit. Hey, it's great to see some of you just now coming in. We are well over 100 people now. Just wow. Thanks for the amazing discipline that everybody is showing in the community of being here to get your questions answered. It's incredibly helpful to everybody and to our help desk as well. And more than anything else, we just really like hanging out with you guys and spending time. It's a pretty interesting question from Greg Noss. Do you see that one there, Sue?
It is. That's cool. So, can you be penalized, or does it create a suspicious footprint if you start using social explosion on high, and you've previously had a low but consistent social presence? Is there anything to be concerned about? Absolutely not at all, because the cool thing about social media is you can turn a page and either have one blog post that's just absolutely incredibly popular and spikes your inbound links and spikes your on-site visit, and then you fall back down into your regular nothingness, or you can have turned a corner and developed a better writing style and be more engaging with your audience. So yeah, it doesn't leave
well, yes, exactly. Think about it something like this, Greg. Think of all of the sites and issues that happen in the media or PR where you get these massive spikes of social from, say, a television or a news story or something like that. These are natural. It's natural for there to be extreme spikes on certain articles. And if you are just starting to see a gradual growth, the other interesting thing about social explosion is you will see a gradual growth over time because there's a process that the backlinks, the way that we've designed the software go through to develop over time as they begin to get indexed. So you will definitely see a hockey stick. You'll see a pretty rapid growth comparatively. But again, that's the advantage of social signals, is at least right now, and I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future, there's this advantage of that social aspect, the presumption of Google partners and social situations outside of even the Google partners social media platforms is that they're natural human visitors and traffic, and we try to provide that with all kinds of combinations of things with social explosion in the Network Empire Social Signals Exchange Network. So this is one of the safer, more sustainable and evergreen methods with which you could provide massive traffic and signals.
Cool. So have you had coffee, Jimmy? I don't want to catch you with questions.
That would be a no.
I'm pretty good. I got plenty of rest today.
All right. Okay, good.
Excellent.
So there's this next question that this desk question on the question screen with all the YouTube entries. Do you want to take a stab at that?
Whose name next to it? The one that's highlighted right now?
I think he's still ramping up.
It's at 626. I'm not going to take a stab at the name. I know I'm going to mess it up. So
Mahmoud, I think. Wow, that's interesting. Want me to read it to you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I don't see what question we're looking at.
Okay, it says, can domain authority stacking for YouTube based on DAS, Weebly's, RSS stack, for example, main site. Wow, I just realized that trying to read this would be a little bit heavy duty. Never mind. Let's come back to that one.
Okay, we'll come back to it.
It's really graphic.
You know what?
Really
what I'll do is I'll grab it and I'll throw it into into the main window here so you can see it.
Yeah. Wow, I pronounced his name right. Good.
I'm impressed.
I know, right? That question isn't on the screen. No, it's not on the screen, Fern. That's a pretty complex question. He's trying to stack. We need to diagram that one out. Yeah, we need to diagram that one out.
No, that's
it's actually hard to paste the questions directly. You got to go to the second layer. I might be able to do it. Let's see if I can answer a couple easier questions while we're dealing with that one. Mm-hmm.
Well, the next question was actually for Jimmy as well. Is it worth looking into supplementing PBN and DAS?
Is it worth looking into to supplement PBN building and DAS? I mean, like for outsourcing?
Define supplement.
Brian?
They didn't define supplement.
Brian's on the call. Well, he gave a piece of software which is actually closed at this juncture,
Oh,
But Brian doesn't look like he's on the call.
okay.
Okay. We'll move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
We have,
Like how big you make your DAS stack, that always just kind of depends on how much power you can punch through it. It also depends on the competition of the keyword typically. So
Right.
typically, for really big stuff, I usually will go up to, a 12 cluster DAS. But, low competition stuff and some medium, you can do that with three clusters typically pretty easily. Some of the medium competition words you have to go up, usually around the 8 cluster range. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah,
so.
totally.
All right. So then the next one is, what's the best way to back up a large website? So large is a relative term, and I'm an old-fashioned kind of girl. So I find that a lot of the plugins and a lot of the third-party facilities that back up a website have got issues when you get large enough. And so what I tend to resort to is using cron to create a file, and then I FTP that file. And it's probably not the answer you want to hear, but that's the best answer there is, because that's getting right down. I just close that so it doesn't distract me. It gets it down into the operating system, and that's at a point where nothing can really go wrong. All right, so Mel asks, I've been blogging every day, along with everything else we teach. Dang, that's one busy person. All right, once I hit number 1, can I apply the handbrake and blog a little bit less? Absolutely. I would be tempted to say it depends on how competitive your market is. It depends on what your competitors are doing as to how much you want to back off of that. But typically, yeah, once you hit number 1, you can back off of it a little bit. Just be aware that you've set up an expectation with your readers, and you might want to think about keeping up with that expectation, because blogging every day isn't just about ranking, but it's also about the sales that you make. And so by setting up that expectation that people are actually going to read your blog, if you have an engaging blog, your sales will dip if you back off of that. But for ranking purposes, yes.
Excellent.
Frank asks, will we be getting PDFs or PowerPoints to these lessons? I'm sorry. What's in there is what we're doing at the moment. We're going to probably, we've got a few more videos that have come in, and we might have a little bit more text that goes along with the videos, but we weren't going to do the PDFs or the PowerPoints. However, with the Webbies, we do hand over the list of questions. So that's really the extent of the documentation for Director's Cut. Scott, when setting up a blog RSS feed for Money Site, is it best to have that feed on the root domain or to create a new subdomain and build it there? I always put everything as www. I don't ever put anything that's just like mysite.com. But whether you have www or whether you have some other keyword in front of it, if you wanted to go keyword rich or locale rich, you could do that. It's got its own interesting issues, which Jimmy might want to get into, but there's no real advantage to having, say, news over www or anything like that. All right, Spencer, looking forward to creating a site with a domain, disease name treatment in countryname.com. That's a good long URL. And plan on creating the silo structure /state/city. For my country, that creates a total of around 600 plus pages. 600 plus pages on a blog isn't a big deal.
No. You're good.
Yeah.
And when you get into 500,000 or so, then start talking.
Cancer treatment and
Yeah, I've seen where when you do like siloing, I don't know, this is just some of the stuff I've experienced. If you do too many that are pages versus posts, sometimes depending on where you're hosting, you can have some real problems with Google crawling that stuff.
Crawling which part, Jimmy? The pages?
Yeah, this is back in the day when we used to like smash the databases and create, the instant pages.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed when we did that, where they were pages, we had a lot of issues with the indexing versus if we made them a post, they seemed to just go a lot smoother.
Interesting. Was that even with a sitemap, or was that without a sitemap?
That was with a sitemap.
Huh.
I haven't heard of any problems.
That was a long time ago, and I haven't really paid attention to it.
Yeah, I don't have any experience with that many pages. I mean, even some of my sites with 200, 300,000 pages only have like 100 or so pages. So
I have experience with directories with that many pages, and I haven't had any problem with indexation.
On WordPress?
Yeah.
Oh, what, our e-commerce or e-marketing firm site or something?
No. No.
The directory?
Directory
Okay.
sites, yeah.
So the directories and they're mostly pages and they index. Okay, well that's good experience, for everyone to hear about. There's a lot of experience in this community, you guys. Like some of the stuff, when we sit around and have beer when Jimmy's in town, we talk about some of the major projects we worked on. And there's, across, no one of us knows as much as all of us. So not any one of us has the absolute clear, certain truth on things. So we got to compare notes. We're doing it all the time. So I just love to hear the different stories and some of the big sites that Jimmy and Sue worked on. There's a weird question from Lonnie. Do you see that one, Sue?
I was actually looking at Collins.
Oh, Collins? Okay.
What's Lonnie's question?
When I'm creating my Google my business page, which type of page should I select to get my Google Plus page to display a links box like shown in let me make sure I'm reading it properly. Hang on. Like shown in the intro setup training. Oh, okay. I guess that wasn't at the bottom, Sue. That was, apparently there's 27 more questions that have scrolled down since I was there. Yeah, I lost my place. I thought I was at the bottom. It's like, whoops. Slow down, everyone. Take a deep breath. We can't answer these all. Let's see. Lonnie, I think what you mean is if you actually type into Google, the search engine, create Google Biz page, it will take you to the splash page. Actually, I'll drop it in there for you, Lonnie. There's a place you go. You can determine what type of biz page you create, and it gives you the option whether you want to be a brand. So when I create a jimmykelly.org page, that would be a brand, right? Or or a cause is another one. I'll just put that in there for you. And depending upon whether you're logged in or not to your Google Plus dashboard or your Gmail account, that will depend on what you see there. Does that make sense? I'll go ahead and drop that in there for you, the Google Plus building page. Okay, you can move on from that one. I'll give that.
Okay, so Fern came back. I probably confused a few people with the last conversation. She asked if we're suggesting pages or posts. And what I will say about pages is they're going to rank longer and better. Posts tend to be here today and gone tomorrow. They fall into an archive in WordPress by default, and so past that point, Google doesn't rank them as well. So I personally prefer pages. That's why we based all our Silo plugins off of pages. And then Colin came back around and asked a question about if from I think this is from the local conversation a little bit ago, if and when Google gives a penalty to duplicate content for local pages, is perfectly human-spun content a good solution, or is there a better solution? That's the solution that I used. We spun on a sentence and on a paragraph level, and I originally had a huge article. I would say it's like 6,000 words or something like that, and we spun that out into like 350 to 550 word articles and inserted the locales on each page.
Yeah.
And
I let my cat walk around on the keyboard. It ranks beautifully.
I can see where that would work. Yeah.
Listen, that's so much. Come on.
All right.
Just,
So
need a little humor in here, guys.
exactly.
No, but I actually do that for real.
I'm sure you do, Russell. Hey, Jimmy, can optimizing images fix metadata? I don't know what the E was supposed to be. I think it's a typo. Fix metadata and have an effect on rankings?
Can fixing
Can optimizing
image-
images, can optimizing image metadata have an effect on rankings?
Yeah, of course. That's I think we talked about that a little bit in the traffic hospital stuff. And I know we definitely did that in, was that Tech Foundation 2 or 3, Russ, that we went into major depth on that?
Which the feed?
For optimizing images.
Oh gosh, that was Tech Foundation 2, week 2 or 1.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you guys could do a search for, if you guys want to read the patent, I believe it's the super...
I'll drop it for him, Jimmy. I got your notes on that.
Yeah, I think it's the super keyword patent.
Yeah, I'll open it up right now for you guys.
Basically, they're considered object, like, I think they're kind of using them more for semantic type purposes, but trying to understand relationships between objects on a page. So that would be like videos or images. So definitely optimizing for that, and then when you upload that to different Google properties or even put that on your own site, it makes a huge difference with your rankings.
Yeah, and now we are not covering that in Director's Cut, folks. I'm not saying that we won't. I'm just saying it's not part of the plan. There is several steps. The process map for optimize. I remember Jimmy stayed up with me really late one night. I think we started at midnight or something, or Jimmy, or like 11, and by 1 o'clock we had finally finished. I mean, this is
pretty long.
Yeah, I mean we outsource this stuff, but there are a bunch of steps. So I'm just letting you know it's not in DC, but I'm going to drop the patent, and if we hear enough about this, then maybe, depending upon whether or not Sue will go for it or not, maybe we could offer, but it's just not part of the Director's Cut.
Yeah. So Mike brings up a good question. The silo plugin that he's using uses page posts, so most of the content ends up on the posts. And have we changed this recently? No, that still works really, really well. And the reason it works well is because those posts are linked to from pages, and the pages are static and evergreen. And so when you have that kind of a linking structure, it keeps the posts ranked easier. All right, next question. Is it a good idea to link images, photos, and populate description, or use a no-follow? WordPress seems to link back to the file name by default. Unless I want folks to actually take a look at those images, I usually take out the hyperlink, but you don't have to. Now, if they're off-site, I would use no follow. I'd actually take off the hyperlink if it's off-site, to tell you the truth. Wouldn't you, Jimmy?
You would? Okay.
I'm sure he agrees with me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
You do? For real? Or are you just being nice?
No, I agree.
Okay, cool. I just dropped you guys the... No, yeah, I agree. Don't hit me. Hey, guys, I dropped the...
I have my whips pulled way too much.
I dropped the patent link there that Jimmy just talking about in there. Okay, new question.
I don't see the link, Russ.
I sent it to everybody.
Oh, there it is. It's up
Yeah.
one. Because I just want to get it for people because
Oh, yeah. There it is.
they don't get to see it on the replay otherwise.
Oh, you're right.
Let me
Okay.
so I'm trying to stay on top of this stuff. See, I listen to you guys and your feedback.
All right. I actually sat there and read this patent after Jimmy showed it to me, and then after he had shown me you can only really do it on a JPEG image, yeah, it's quite extensive. But a lot of people don't know that, and just food for you guys for thought. If you start start doing some searching around, you can find a good deal of information about it. But just know that every image has a whole bunch of nested data in there that Google absolutely does use. So kind of like Neo from the Matrix. Keep asking the right questions, do a couple queries, and you'll find hidden gems in there about that stuff.
So Andrew's got an interesting question. He's got a website that doesn't have a proper silo structure. And it's not that big. It's only 18 pages. So you know what I would probably do, Andrea, is I would put the put one of the silo plugins in there, and I would rearrange the pages so that they're in a proper silo structure, and then I would do a 301 redirect in the htaccess from the old URL to the new URL. Because when it's only 18 pages, it's not that big of a deal, but you can certainly get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of ranking.
Yeah, and you should do that all in under 10 minutes.
And you can also see which silos are maybe, yeah, absolutely. And you can also see which silos are going to be a little bit thin in content. And I'm going to give you a hard time tonight, Russ. And you can flesh those concepts out a little bit better.
Interesting.
All right. So France is using vSilo with Social Explosion.
Hey, Sue, are you really, you're going to just slide over that and just throw that kind of level of technical expertise and that's it and just move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Using vSilo with Social Explosion, can I also use the one feed as well? And will this help? Yes, it would help. Absolutely. Your vSilo with Social Explosion, I mean, unless you're actually posting at the blog level, you're not going to get a lot of posts into Social Explosion because it's not going to do the pages yet.
Right. Which, by the way, is a feature we're working on, yada, yada, no date of or time of arrival. But
no, not on that one because that's a more difficult issue.
We get that question consistently, Sue. Can I reiterate? Can I just paraphrase it and you tell me if I understand the question right? And then I just feel like the questions, they keep coming in on this, all right? People are asking, can I use domain authority stacking in Social Explosion and the vSilo plugin? Now, that requires that everybody know those three things. The vSilo plugin is a plugin you add to your blog, your money site, that is static. It creates a silo plugin very quickly, either manually or exporting from one of our tools, like, I don't know, Kraken or Domain Web Studio Silo Builder, right? And builds a themed keyword silo structure that used to take hours and just, 4 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. And then we also provide a promotional plugin, which is Social Explosion, which is best used for posting. In other words, Social Explosion is really powerful for posts, which is what Fran was asking. So she was asking, well, can I use it if I'm using vSilo, which is primarily pages, does use some posts, but is not publishing regularly unless, we're publishing on that site. Now, let me ask you this, Sue. Even though Social Explosion doesn't use pages to promote, can we use the RSS feed section once to take the feeds of the pages if we added like we talked about last week, the page to post to RSS feed?
Yeah.
And then syndicate that once. And what Fran is asking, because she talked to me privately about this a while back, does domain authority stacking and Social Explosion still work for that money site that doesn't have tons of post publishing? Does that work?
So domain authority stacking you can use on any site. It doesn't have to be a siloed site.
Okay.
You're going to get bigger bang for your buck if it's siloed, but that's just because of the nature of the silo site. But you can use domain authority stacking on anything. You can also use Social Explosion on anything. It doesn't have to be a siloed site.
Exactly.
It can be any blog, right? So, and yes, you can use all of these things. You can stack all these things one on top of another. Everything that we teach in Director's Cut can be used all at the same time, all on the same blog, and it will work beautifully.
Because Sue and Jimmy, both of you, since this question comes in so consistently, especially from this group, can I use domain authority stacking? Can I use domain authority stacking? Let's try reversing it. Is there a time in which you would say that domain authority stacking is not safe, is dangerous, should not be used, and or should not be used?
Don't use it if you don't want to rank.
Or like don't use it if something is so easy to rank for that it's like one of Jimmy's like one link wonder type scenarios, right? In other words, if it's overkill, like don't go to all that work and don't accrue the costs of ranking, right, Sue?
Yeah, so we actually, the way that we laid the training out, where we started with a 5 iframe punch and we progressed to one feed and then we progressed to DAS, like that actually starts with the easiest things. So if you actually go down that progression, you won't hit overkill. So like if you've got super simple local terms, you can do 5 iframe punch and it's all good and fine and right with the world. And then if you got the next level up, you can do one feed stuff, and it's all good.
Awesome.
You'll rank with that. And then if you've got the next level up, you do domain authority stacking. And then if you've got like some serious power terms that you want to go after, you're going to want to do PBNs, and for that you're going to want to get over into Project J and take the training over there about PBNs.
Right.
I'm not sure how much of that's actually going to end up here in Director's Cut.
Right, neither am I. But that's excellent advice. Thank you, Sue. Fran is also asking, just as a side note, can I do a video as well? Yeah, you totally can, Fran. You can do videos. 5-iframe punch I created because it's kind of DAS for lazy people. So that's really, and sometimes when I'm publishing, there's so much. Let me tell you guys a quick story. 5-iframe punch, 4-iframe punch, which has greatly been enhanced by Jimmy and Sue and other sequential trainings and concepts, was created because I have to rapidly create content because there's so much content coming out of our community and out of our experts that sometimes we'll get 2 or 3 articles a week. And so the 5-iframe punch was designed to make sure that you can very quickly broadcast, and it's actually only 32 steps, slightly less than that if you leave some things out. So instead of using the domain authority stacking methods that are quite a bit more robust than domain authority, you're using more bookmarklets, so it's more like curation. So it was a way to very, very quickly do the minimum requirements if you're rapid content pushing out, or if you're rapid content broadcasting.
Cool. All right, so Callie asks, does Social Explosion do auto-posting, meaning it will curate articles on automatic, or will it only work on new posts? New posts. Any way to automate new content? Yeah, this will automate new content. Doesn't work on existing posts at this point in time.
Right.
Scott, in one of the videos, we mentioned that getting good domain authority flow through RSS is all about frequency of publish. However, there wasn't any info provided on what equates to good frequency of publish. Everything all the time right now. Oh, sorry. All right. So,
no, you're not.
you know, I tell my clients, my local clients, that they need to blog at least a couple times a week. And so long as you're on a not too competitive front, a couple times a week would be fine. If your competitors are blogging 5 times a week or more, some of them have staff and they're blogging like 5 times a day, then you're going to want to do a little bit more to keep up with the Joneses. So I would look at your competitors, I'd see what it is that they're doing, and I would judge it by that.
Which one?
Ted asks, another question.
Try not to laugh out loud.
Am I going too fast? Another question on the subdomain topic, please. Notice I didn't let you answer that. I have a client on the Wix website. Wix? What the heck is Wix?
Wix is another, it's like Weebly.
Oh, okay. He wants a blog installed. It's good to want.
Yeah, right.
A client.
Then he should pay you a whole lot of money.
So if the site is www.test.com, can I create a subdomain, say blog.test.com, and install WordPress there without affecting this main site? Yeah, you should be able to.
Oh, wait, on Wix? Does Wix have a hosting thing tied to it now?
It doesn't make any difference. So long as you actually own test.com, you can create a subdomain, and you can host that someplace else, and you can put a WordPress.
What you're saying, you mean if they have the root pointed to a Wix or Weebly, of course, then you can make subdomains as an independent site. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. I thought Wix was doing, hosting subdomains. I was going to ooh, I got some ideas.
So Peter says, we have a 7-year-old e-commerce site with categories based on a typical silo structure. Our product page URLs include category/subcategory, and they are keyword heavy. Example, domain.com/minifridges/brand name minifridge-xxx555. Each product page typically contains the brand name and the keyword in the H1 tag and sprinkled throughout the page. Just that is not going to be over-optimized, but you could definitely hit over-optimization there. It depends on what's going on with the rest of your page, right? With the rest of that page where you've got the URL and the H1 tag and how many times it's sprinkled throughout the page, And if you have like a sidebar with mini fridge in there, like another 500 times because you got 500 different kinds of mini fridges, then you would be leaning toward over. I don't mean 500 either. I mean just like 10 or so. Then yeah, you could be headed toward over optimization. If you're rebuilding the site for a new site, is it better to keep the existing URL structure or exclude the categories / subcategories in product page URLs and use 301 redirects? You know,
It's a tricky question.
that's actually a consult question.
Yeah.
Like, I'd have to look at the site. I'd have to have more information. I could just throw mud against a wall and give you an opinion, but it would be an opinion and not really, it should be an evaluation, so I hesitate to say anything.
Yeah, we are getting some. I'd like to also add, in conjunction with what Sue just said, on the help desk and other locations, we are getting some questions from you guys, and it's totally cool to ask them because we're just going to tell you that are pretty sophisticated. And in other words, you can ask yourself, just turn the tables before you ask us a question and think of it in terms of if your client was asking you that question. If all the information is not there, there's no way for us to really give you the feedback, and we don't want to be liable for having you make a mistake. And because if we don't have all the information, there's a lot of what we call dependencies. If we don't have that information, we could be telling you wrong or not giving you the full options that you have. So just remember, the more complicated the things that you're trying to accomplish, the more information we have to have. And by the way, you guys should know this for your own online consulting businesses, and especially if you're going to build a 6- or 7-figure business like we have in that way. Don't answer any questions when they get too complex. The more complex a question gets, the more expensive it should be for you to answer and help people with, okay? I just want everybody to know that that's a real thing. And it's not because for any other reason other than you want to give your clients the right answer, and that takes you, a lot of time and energy to work out the specifics of that equation. Okay.
Okay. So David asked a question. He says he's kind of a beginner and wants to know what he should do. And this was a question from back the first week. And in the meantime, I know Greg has come in and started doing webinars on Saturday and helping to bridge some of those gaps. So could we just have a quick poll here, since we got a fair number of people on tonight? How many here feel like they're grokking the information that's presented here, and it's maybe a bit difficult, but it's good, and you're managing to get your head wrapped around things? Give me a 1 if that's the case, and give me a 2 if you feel like you're lost in a sea of acronyms and things are over your head.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay. All right, we got a couple of 2s, but mostly
there's a few 2s in there. The general consensus is people are starting to get it now. To the 2s, I would like to offer you this. You don't have to know everything all the time right now, despite what Sue will tell you. You are amidst peers in a community where the good news is this is some of the most advanced knowledge out there. And think about that. If you're already in this community, starting to be exposed to these questions, you're going to be formulating the right questions to ask from now on. And so you might not have every single piece of the puzzle and all the dependencies, but you will soon. You're much, much, much closer than I was when I got started out. You can ask Sue that for sure. So you guys are so this is great. I'm even though you're putting 2s out there and you're feeling a little bit like, okay, the air is a little thin, don't worry about it. The penny will start to drop, the shoe will drop as you move forward and just work with a community and a team.
Cool. All right. I'm thinking too, for those guys who gave us a 2, because there are a handful of them, if you want to give us a bit of feedback over in our questions area, let me just get you that link again. Hopefully, maybe. Ah! Where did it go? Here we go. If you want to give us a little bit more feedback, I'd be happy to pass it on to this link right here. I'd be happy to pass it on to David Mills and Company, and we can see what we can do. All right. So I can drop that here in the thingy in the chat area too. All right.
Okay.
Mr. Kelly, do you feel up to another question? I'm looking at, excellent. I'm looking at DA Stacks. This is from Woody. I'm looking at DA Stacks and Tumblr mainly. There are tumblr.com/search/URLs indexed on Google, and if you look into them, some have a high PA, 40 on average, with low backlinks. Is it worth the effort to try and engineer a search term that is relevant and the Tumblr results are in my Tumblrs?
So trying to use existing Tumblr pages for backlinks is my
I think that's what he's saying, yeah.
guess on that. Well, yeah, I mean, certainly anytime you can get a link from something that's already ranking somewhere, that's then, pointing to another site will help pull up the page that you're trying to rank for.
Authority is authority, right?
Yeah. I mean, they might be, I don't know if they're asking this from that stuff I shared on Becker's Super Bowl thing, but yeah, I mean, if you have the ability to, like, in that method, we post a Tumblr blog and we try to embed either the picture or image that goes with the associated page that we're trying to rank. And certainly, if you can get other reblogs to go that already have power, which is typically the goal, you're going to see a lot more movement in pushing up that original page that you blogged on, and then also it's going to transfer that power back over to the money site. So, and it seems to be getting jumped in DA on my site, but PA is slow. Is it true DA PA updates generally take 2 to 3 weeks? Typically, so those are, because it's a Moz metric, generally speaking, they typically update every 30 days. So you'll see them update, I don't remember, I always get them and Majestic confused, but typically you'll see them update at the end of the month. Now, the exception to that is if you are actually, if you're a member of Moz and you put your site in there, it's going to get crawled and updated a little more regularly. But if you're not, if you haven't put your site in as a campaign to track it through Moz, then you usually have to wait the 30 days. Sometimes longer if it's not even ranking for anything.
Interesting.
Is that right if I answer Joshua's question, Sue, if you're ready?
Yeah, I was actually just looking at that question.
May I make some comments? Or?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, Cotton, let me just read the question for everyone, and I do want to answer it with caution because there are several models within the NE, Director's Cut, and OMG community. Joshua says, do you guys typically bill your local clients in perpetuity? Cotton mentioned he basically stops when the job is done, which makes more sense as to why he charges $4K a month minimum. I was just wondering what models you guys tend to use. We're going to be in a little bit of a different category, Joshua, because we don't do like the day job killer stuff. That's one of the main launch courses for OMG, which is really local focused. So I'll drop you the link of one of the plans that we use. Generally speaking, ours is a little bit different, and it's not better. It's just different. Since we're primarily a software company, we charge for the report, then we charge for the plan, then we charge for the execution, and we charge a lot for all three of those. Okay, that's Sue's model. I'm not saying that you guys should jump into that model. I'm just saying that's what we do. So you charge for the report, and some of you I know give a free report away, and there's software inside the OMG community that allows you to provide free reports, ours and other people's software. those reports can get you in the front door. Our model is a little different. We charge for that. We charge for that report up front because of our branding. In other words, if you have brand equity, you don't have to do anything for free. Now, that's a different model, and that doesn't make a model where you give a free consult or a free report or even have a software on your site that gives you a free analysis to the clients and attracts leads. That doesn't make any of that wrong. It's a different model. In fact, Sue and I did that in 2007, and we tried some of those models. So our current model is slightly different than Cotton's, but Cotton's model is a great model for those of you doing local, and you should really listen closely to how he does that, because his bank account confirms that model works really well in the local industry.
I have one caveat to that, and that is clients, as soon as they get their hands on the site, it tends to lose rankings very quickly.
Yes.
So I tend to offer them a hosting solution that includes maintenance, and we have a couple of team members, a couple of outsourcers that just do the maintenance on a regular basis. So it's totally hands-free to us, and it keeps their little hands out of places where they shouldn't be. And
like anywhere.
So, right. So that's the only thing that I offer for ongoing fees. Everything else is like, yeah, as soon as they're done, I want to fire them.
Yeah, Sue.
I mean, I want to terminate the contract. Sorry.
See, we haven't even opened the tequila yet. So I would definitely agree with that. And again, we're talking on the technical side of things, you guys. Sue, by the way, we're getting a lot of amens to that one. Mm-hmm. How many of you on this call have an experience of doing work and then having it be completely undermined, destroyed, or otherwise meddled with by your client, and then you take the blame? Give me a 1 if you've had that happen to you yet. Wow. Obakeba.
Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
Right, so let's just pause for a second here. Now, some of you are still getting ramped up in your business, and I'm sure that Cotton will, I know he's pretty much a badass, so I know he has methods of preventing that from happening. There are situations, I do not currently do this. I don't work with clients anymore, so you probably should ignore me completely on this topic. We do have some things in our organization now. Sue, maybe you can answer this. There are contracts I've seen where there's actually a SEO campaign. If you touch it or you mess with anything, the contract is null and void and it's non-refundable. I know that Jimmy has talked to me about situations where that's the best route to go because it's so delicate that they really can't mess with it.
Absolutely. In fact, I wish I put that in on a couple of our more recent contracts because
boom.
Yeah, I actually have clients come back to me as soon as we're finished with the site, and they're like, "Okay, should we run SE Nuke now?"
Yeah, go ahead. If you want us to keep the money that you gave us and not do anything else ever.
Goodness gracious! All right, so back to the question.
And back to the question.
Peter.
Depends if they're going to continue to pay or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Run screaming down the road. Yes, exactly. All right, so Peter's talking about a very complex situation between LinkedIn and Google and a one-to-one relationship and multiple LinkedIn accounts. And I don't have that much experience with trying to link up LinkedIn with Google dashboards, so I really can't speak to that.
I can help a little bit with that. Let me just see here.
I mean, I don't have...
Yes, you are only allowed to have one account. This is where I try to avoid talking about this at all in the director's cut, but I really can't when it comes to this type of things. So I'm just going to say it, okay, and hope I don't get busted. Is that okay with you guys?
Sure.
Sue's like, yeah, well, it depends on what it is. Well, you're not going to know what it is until I say it. Okay, I'll just keep it light. We have created a process that has 3 layers, okay? And we don't teach it in the director's cut because we really don't need to based on what domain authority spec. What?
This isn't what he's talking
It
about.
is. He is
He's
too.
talking
I know
about
you think that it's not, but it is.
the situation that I've got. So like I've got 5 businesses.
No, I know.
And he's saying that he can't have 5 business pages with a single LinkedIn account, and I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, all right, go for it.
No, that's okay. LinkedIn, this is really, yeah, Sue's right. This is really a LinkedIn question. LinkedIn doesn't really have the model. Like what I've discovered is that they have a new model in LinkedIn where you can have a staff member connection or something like that. So you may want to try doing something like that, where you have multiple staff. Do you have multiple staff members of this person on the call? I was just curious if Peter's here. Not really. Okay, so if these are all money sites and these are different businesses, you can have a branded account. Why don't you hit us up with that at the on the question on the questionnaire that we provide, and let me just double check something for you.
This was from the questionnaire, just so you know.
Oh yeah.
All right. Don't know enough about LinkedIn is the answer at the moment, and if we get the opportunity to research that, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, because I really was going in a different direction with that, and I think that it's related. If you have,
okay.
I mean, if you have, in terms of, first of all, if you're going to follow the LinkedIn terms of service, you could have another staff member, that's where I was just trying to go, Sue. You could have another staff member representing the company. So the way that LinkedIn prefers that you handle that is that every staff member or every department head has their own account and their recent activity, their current job or position. If you're interested in following things like, I don't know, terms of services or like whatever, then that's what you would really do. You would make sure that every staff member, every department had their own LinkedIn account and that their recent and current job activity was associated with their department with that company. Does that make sense? Now, if you're a one-man band and you're trying to present yourself as owners of 5 companies, yeah, I can see where that would get a little bit thin. But there probably are strategies that we could look at, and we'll get back to you on that.
Okay, so Paul, what in your opinion is the safest way to set up and post to a PBN? So PBNs aren't actually something that we cover in any great detail. The only thing that we really do with PBNs is we use vCracken to automate the content on PBNs. So I'm going to just leave the rest of that. And I would hit, if you haven't already talked to Greg on Saturday, I would hit him up with that because he's the master of that. James asks 2 questions. 1, I still want to know where to get all the RSS feeds. Okay, so this was from a couple weeks back, and I know that we've put in a video on where all the RSS feeds are. So 2, can we use domain stacking to our Google Places page, which would mean the local business page, or on Google Map? Are we domain stacking right on Google Places page, or are we directing through the local citation that have a backlink to the Google Place page, or are we doing both? Mr. Kelly?
The Google Map.
It's this question right here.
I don't remember, did we ever go over the Google Places page?
No.
Can we use domain stacking to our Google Place page? Are we domain stacking straight to the Google Place page, or are we directing through? Typically, you're stacking it to the citations, and then those citations should point back to the money site, or whichever page you're trying to rank. So, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, the only other thing that I'm thinking that maybe he's thinking about is something that Russell went over with Google. That wasn't actually a Places page, that was the dashboard.
No, because we didn't detour into the Google Place biz page, because one of the things that, the only thing we covered was we mentioned what Google kind of shouts out when you're creating a biz page is, you know, be sure to add this to your place page. So it really was not part of the training. We just mentioned that that was a caveat, that that was a turn you could take. But we never got into it in the training.
Okay. Not had a chance to view the videos. New person SEO, what should I do first? Yeah, so I would just start at the beginning of our video series and work through that stuff, what I was talking about earlier.
I'm not quite sure I understand his first sentence. I don't know what he doesn't know what to content broadcast or okay. Yeah, start at the beginning of Director's Cut, go through it, create a list of questions, bring it back to the form so that we can, give you some insight. And this, where should you start first? Well, from the beginning, one of the things that you're mentioning is you haven't watched the videos yet, so do that first.
Yes, this is from a couple weeks ago, so he's probably
good.
miles.
Okay, excellent.
Cool. So Charlie asked the question directly to Jimmy. Does it help to use a link shortener when sending links to your first or second tier sites if you're using a high DA link shortener?
Yeah, I mean those also could be used as part of your stack as well. Yeah.
So when you're using a link shortener, Jimmy, I get this question on the help desk sometimes. That's a separate. Obviously, that's a whole different domain boost. That's to when you're not, and I think some people don't account for that, like when they're going to Twitter or anything else. We covered that last week in our Q&A. So it's a 301 redirect like anything else and passes juice like anything else, and that's a layer. You would consider it a layer.
Yeah, a shortener, because that's just an extra jump. So if you're trying to get the GSA pushed through, then I typically will use a shortener in between some of those properties. So yeah, I mean and basically, but that's the thing is, the higher the DA is, you don't have to send as much stuff to it. So,
excellent.
Don't feel like you have to just slam it every time, but just get some good juice going to it.
Excellent.
All right. So Jason has a main website that's in HTML. So obviously there's not going to be any feed. He's set up two BBNs that point to the internal pages of the main HTML website. Since he can't do an RSS feed from the HTML site, should I then use one of my PBNs for the website.com/feed and use that as my main URL for my social accounts for my business, i.e. Facebook, Yelp, and Twitter? He says he's guessing yes because the juice is still passed, but he's also saying no because it would look stupid since the PBN name has nothing to do with eye care. Yeah, that makes sense now. And my gut hunch would be no. Because typically, I mean, if your PBN is really that focused on what your money site is about, then it's typically what I would do. Let me just phrase it this way, rather than trying to take a square peg and put it in a round hole. What I would tend to do if my main site is an HTML site and I'm looking for a way that I can get a feed and send that feed to my social media platforms like Facebook and Yelp and Twitter, I would have a blog that goes hand in hand with that HTML site, and I would blog newsy type stuff on that blog, and I would feed that through my social media sites. I don't know if Jason's here and has feedback on that, but that's what I would do. All right. So Scott has got WordPress WPE plugins on my WP site with him. Okay, which I like. How are your RSS plugins more efficient than this one, or is it okay to use this plugin until I upgrade to this site? Russ, are you familiar with the
Yep, sorry, I was answering Joshua's rather interesting question. Okay,
Sure.
Hi, I have WP RSS plugins on my WP sites with theme. Okay. how are your RSS plugins more efficient than this? WPE RSS plugins.
Yeah, are you familiar with that?
I'm not. Not off the top of my head. I don't think he's spelling it right. If it's the WPE?
Yeah, ERSS is what I'm guessing is.
ERSS, ER, huh.
Let me just do a quick search here and see.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this thing. ERSS, I don't see anything like that.
Dang, the first thing that comes up is that it doesn't work.
Well, I'm not really sure what it is that he's asking, so we can't really address other plugins.
It's an e-commerce. I'm gathering that it's an e-commerce plugin that would make sense because then it would be going hand in hand with the Woo themes.
Yeah,
e-commerce
exactly.
Probably. And
it is having problems.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with it. If it works and does what you need for it to do, then super cool. And if it doesn't, you can probably use our RSS supercharger in conjunction with that. Like it shouldn't do anything. I'll look at it. I'll keep it on my tabs and look at it afterwards, but I can't imagine that it would in any way conflict with what we got.
No, I don't think so. That error message, that complaint that you saw on the search engine was actually from 5 years ago, which speaks to how long stuff stays on the search engine, guys.
Right?
Yeah, to me, I would have to agree with Sue. I don't really know what it does, so we can't really create a comparative analysis. I can tell you this. We have looked at a variety of different plugins. They don't really have our systems thinking in them, so they weren't designed to connect to a wider web ring automation system or semi-automation system. Now, there might be some out there, but I just haven't been able to find it yet. So in that sense, they don't tend to conflict.
All right, a social explosions question. When I input a new feed, that feed does not get shared until I update the feed with a new post. No, that's not how it works. It's probably just taking its sweet time to read the RSS feed. It's probably just looking coincidentally like that's what's happening. But it can take up to 24 hours depending on how busy the server is. That the information goes, as soon as you hit the save button, the information goes from the plugin to the SAS. But the SAS might not come back and say that it's processed it for maybe 24 hours. It just kind of depends on how busy it is. All right, so I have Social Explosion installed on several blocks, but only have one Social Explosion account. Am I only able to explode one feed? Yes, one feed at a time. And if you put in another feed, then it undoes the first feed. Now, everything that was going to be exploded on the first feed still explodes, but past that point, it won't do anything with the first feed.
So it removes anything added to that first feed is no longer scheduled, and it only starts scheduling for the second feed after the initial kick, which is all links on the XML page.
Right.
Okay.
So number 3, I've created my first cluster. It consists of, I'm assuming you're saying a DAS cluster. It consists of a Facebook post, a tweet, a Blogger page, an SE2 page, blog, a WordPress.com site instead of Weebly. I used webrss.com to create a feed consisting of all these pages. Now I'm trying to explode this feed so I can get tier 2 links to my cluster. I'm having 2 problems. One, I can't get Social Explosion to explode the feed. Put that into the help desk.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stop there and say
put that on the help desk, buddy.
Question. All right.
A couple of
So, according to the training, we should be creating 3 clusters. Do all 3 clusters link to the same Facebook post, tweet, and Yelp page? No. Everything is different on all those levels, and I think since this question was asked, Jimmy went into that image and really expounded on that question, so probably you got the answer to that.
Yeah.
So number 5, back in the day when we were all using GSA and SE Nuke, funny I just mentioned SE Nuke, it was advised that you use proxies when creating all of these Web 2.0 so that you didn't leave a footprint. Do we have the same concerns here? If we're creating 3 clusters, should we be using a proxy for these so that they're not all coming from the same IP address? are we concerned with leaving a footprint when making these Web 2.0s? And if not, why are we not concerned about it now? Mr. Kelly? I'm wildly thinking back to the research that we did with IPs and trying to figure out if there's a correlation there.
I mean, would you want to use some of the, you know, I guess this can tie into Skyfall a little bit, but,
yeah.
You know, on these bigger sites like this, I personally, I mean, I don't worry about it right at this point in time. But down the road, you can see where, you know, if you're super concerned, then just utilize that software. I think, what was that software you recommended last week, Sue?
Hide my...
Or was that our other webinar? I can't remember which.
Hide my ass.
I'm pretty sure that was here.
Hide my IP. Hide my macro.
So if you're super concerned with it, you can certainly go and get this, and they have one for both your IP and your MAC address, and I would just get both of those.
I think that doesn't, yeah, so rather than get deeply into this person's question, I would like to recommend, I'm going to go ahead and drop into the community area right here, the interview that with Sue and Jimmy on it, because that question is actually an entire webinar on its own, in fact was. So that's why you feel this hesitation on us answering it, because the answer is it depends. And there's a huge number of things that you've asked in this. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the Skyfall public blog post, and maybe I really recommend that you have a look at that and like really listen, because some of your questions are answered in that blog post. And I would really like you to just look at that, okay? I'll go ahead and drop that for everybody, by the way.
How did they get to some of those other ones we did too? Because I think we expanded off of that one.
Well, we did.
I don't remember.
And the great place to start was in this public blog post.
Yeah. Okay. And the one thing that I will say is there are a lot of forums out there that do track IPs, where you can go and you can dig up what the IP address of the person was.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would be more cautious there. I don't know that Google would be scrutinizing it so much as your competitors might be.
Exactly.
And then they would report you. So.
I mean, I haven't worried about it on those types so far. Like when you're going to some of these massive 2.0 sites and stuff, there's lots of activity and things going on there.
So much.
Where if it's a PBN that you own, I would be more concerned with the PBN because there's not all that traffic and things typically going to those.
Exactly.
PBNs.
You guys know
so it's a little easier to pick out.
Exactly. Let me just keep it like super non-techy for a second. And I know I'm oversimplifying it, and these guys can jump in. You guys know how like in the spy movies, like if you really want to lose somebody when you have a tail, you jump into a crowd. Like, you know, there's a rock concert or something, and the guy, you know, jumps out the window and then runs into the like rock concert, and then the feds are on his butt and they can't really find him because, you know, he's in this crowd. You can kind of there are similarities of looking at, when you have all this social media and you have all these giant platforms, the search engines and their ability to try to track all this stuff and track you, there really are issues. Like think of all the link shorteners and the different IP addresses and the subdomain, all the thing, and the traffic on these sites. When you have that much traffic and backlinks and those kinds of different locations from major social media partners, Google partners, and platforms coming in, it really tends to do a lot better job of obfuscating than, say, you've got these quiet, silent little PBNs out there quietly jacking link juice towards where they want to go with no traffic and, you know, really kind of predictable linking. It's just a very different kind of thing. You don't have any obfuscation happening. You don't have any noise or kind of human traffic and all that type of thing. So that's really that's a super huge oversimplification, but that's really, you know, what it is. So I've gone ahead and dropped that Skyfall link on there. Just take a little bit of a look at it, and then you can start asking yourself. Just know that SE Nuke and what Social Explosion does are apples and oranges. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how much apples and oranges they are. And that's the main thing to be aware of.
Okay, so Ken asked a couple of interesting questions. Do you want to take those, Jimmy? The first one is, if a site needs trust, build links to all pages from high domain authority properties. Is that a true statement?
So you're looking at Ken's right now?
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get real understanding true. Trust and power attributes that you guys explained. Is it as simple as, if a site needs trust, build links to all pages from high DA properties? Yeah, basically it's it's about know your target. You know, certainly, like a new website, you know, doesn't typically have any trust or anything going to it. So you want to try and get links from some of these seed sets, or close as you can to some of these seed sets, and that's going to help push those trusts over through to a new domain. But if you're dealing with like an Amazon page or something, like Amazon has all the trust in the world that it needs, so you're only really going to be concerned with power at that point. So that's basically, you know, knowing what your target is basically how you know what types of link building you need to do.
And how about the second question?
Sorry, my kids are in the background. For Lonnie?
No, for Ken, if site needs power. Did you answer that?
Yeah, so if a site needs power, build links to the exact page that you're trying to rank from. So you already have the trust going through off of those high DA sites. So basically, you can utilize the same properties. You just need to juice them up so then you're getting the power as well that you need. So, but you can certainly do that with just PBNs as well. If you just need power and you're not concerned with trying to push trust to the property, you can certainly do that with just PBNs. So, yeah, hopefully that kind of makes sense.
Jimmy, you don't have to keep your kids back there link building all day. You can let them out occasionally to play.
Are you kidding?
I don't let my cat hear the kids on the computers.
Okay. You're smarter than me. You don't use your cat on the keyboard. You just let your kids pound away for it to create content.
Just put the coloring paper on top of the keyboard and let them color a picture.
That's funny. Hey, I have an idea.
Content by members. Right? Okay, so Lonnie asks, I've been following the profile set up in the first video. Created a new Gmail account, set up the G Plus profile, set up the G Plus business page, linked the dashboard to my G Plus account, linked Google Webmaster Tools to my blog, going through the verification process. Now when I get to my G Plus business page, I don't have a link section, so I don't see the URL for my blog. The only place my blog URL shows up is in the contact information section. Didn't you do another video that showed more information on the G Plus page, Russ? I know I pinged you a link and I said that there were a couple of people who were asking about where all the links were.
I did. In fact, David
Okay.
posted that in the director's cut area. And not only that, I've given you a step-by-step duplicatable check sheet from our own checklist system where you're able to go through and follow it step by step. And that has been placed in the director's cut area last I heard. Okay, so if you've missed that, please just log into the director's cut area. Yeah, in fact, I can check to see precisely where David put that. But it is a step-by-step.
Yeah, that might be good.
Okay, I'll go ahead and
cool.
log in there now.
The link here in a second. I'll read the next question.
Sure.
Great. So Dietrich asks, clarification, when going over the YouTube example of water damage Cedar City, Jimmy explained that you could have a pseudo-friend channel that we can spam the heck out of. On Stephen Tanton's page, I see do follow
Oh yeah.
Stephen to Brad under friends. But when I go to Brad's
Spam your
channel, I
friends.
cannot find the link to Stephen's channel. That should pass the link from Brad's page to Stephen's page.
He's talking about the method where Jimmy shows about the friend boosting through a friend link.
Yeah, and I think I also said on there, understand that I hide a lot of where my links go to.
Yep.
So in that
Yeah.
situation, you wouldn't be able to probably backtrack to see where I actually sent the juice to.
It's a secret. Remember, spam your friends, but don't
Now that
spam
it
your friends'
happened,
friends.
Right? All right. The next question. I've put my blog into FeedByte, but I can only find a page on FeedByte that contains my links, blog RSS feed. Is there a way to get an RSS feed from FeedByte so that you can show how? If so, can you show how? Also, FeedByte only has a DA of 40 and feed a lot of, you know those things that come up and go down. Besides Yahoo Pipes and Feedage available, do you have a few more that have DA over 55? We do. And I'm trying to think of where the heck that is. Let me just put that question off to the side, and I will look for that answer. All right. What methods does Jimmy use to increase? We don't. Typically, we don't bother to increase PA for RSS feeds. If you're using the Deep Silo Builder plugin, if you're using the Deep Silo Builder plugin, can you get it to not put every top-level silo page in the main navigation? Yeah, sure. It's a menu, just like the menus that I was showing over here. You can just come in here and take it out of the menu. But you can't take it out of the side menu, the sidebar menu. Normally, I would not want this, but but what you can do, all right, wait, let me see which one I've got in here. Let me just switch these around and put the right plugin installed, and I can show you how to do what it is you're trying to do. You just take it out of the silo structure, and then Bob is your uncle. Deep Silo Builder, let me activate that bad boy. And, whoops. Got to deactivate the other one before you can activate that one.
Yes, thanks everybody. We're aware that Sue's faded in and out. She's hopefully going to be stable now, but thanks. We've got that.
All right, so let's try this. So let me come here to pages for a minute. And back over here at the ranch, we've got like SEO. And let me just see if I've got one that doesn't have a subpage under it. Let me try the reports. So SEO shouldn't have any subpages under it, as opposed to search engine optimization. So now if I come back over here to pages for a second, actually I can just come here to pages and go to SEO. Just trying to think the quickest way to get there. Sorry, folks. All right, so if I edit this page, I can take it out of the silo structure. And I can say not in silo, and I can save it. And then this will take it out of the silo structure entirely. So like if I do a refresh here, SEO will disappear. I'm so glad it's all working perfectly. And if I come back to the page, view this page, then you'll see that the little side menu thing came out over here, and if I go back to home, SEO will not be in the side menu either. So let me just make sure that that actually answers the question. If you're using the Deep Silo Builder, can you get it to not put every top-level silo page in the main navigation? building out sites per city. Oh, and you've got 50 of them, so you actually do want them to be part of the silo. You just don't want them to be part of the main nav. So you can take them out of the nav at the top, but you can't take them out of the nav at the sidebar. So that's the that would be the answer to this question. You can take it out up here because this is just a menu, a normal appearance menu on the top, and it automatically goes in there, but you can remove it. So, like, it's not helpful if I actually remove one that's not part of the silo. Let's remove this one. I can remove social media marketing from there and then save the menu. And you'll see that social media marketing is gone from this menu, but it will remain as part of the silo structure in the sidebar menu. That's as close as you're going to get. Semi-manual solution, not using your plugin. Yeah, that's a possibility too, but man, that's a pain. All right, that's as good as you're going to get with that, in terms of an easy answer. Next question, Dietrich's last question. I'm assuming you guys have used sites.google.com, and I thought to use this for DAS. The issue that is in my mind is how do you send link juice to it? Well, google.com is already a DA of 100. Use DAS, Social Explosion, GSA, other delightfully evil methods.
Not too long ago, I was experimenting with something on their
Yeah, you guys.
Google account completely banned.
You guys might. Jimmy has
Yeah,
over.
that's where my mind went.
Yeah, over a beer, Jimmy described to me a scenario which is a nightmare scenario, and ever since then, I just really probably would avoid it. I mean, there's so many other options, you guys. Like why? I mean,
Yeah.
I admit he does everything to the extreme. Actually, in fact, both of these guys do. Of course, I don't do anything to the extreme. But the main thing is, like, if I have a choice between 10 other things, why use something that, I mean, literally, it could get your entire Google dashboard shut down, which means everything.
Like, it's not, yeah, when they shut me down, I should expand upon that. It wasn't just like the sites.google.com that got banned. It was like the email, any Google type account that it was connected to.
Everything.
Your webmaster tools.
Everything, like anything that you've associated with what I taught you guys on the Google dashboard, toast. Now,
Yeah.
that being said, probably most of you wouldn't do like the extreme things that he did, which we're not going to talk about. But nonetheless, the fact is that you don't. Why bother when you can have everything separate from your Google dashboard? And if you are going to play around with that, which I don't recommend, do something way out in left field where you don't care. Don't connect anything to it. That's my main admonition.
Wait, I have a really great idea. Let's take a piece of raw meat down to this lion. Yeah.
No, let's do it in the lion's cage. Let's crawl over the fence,
Yeah, let's crawl over. Yeah, exactly.
over the castle, over the moat, into the lion's cage, and like put a huge bloody raw piece of meat in, and then we'll GSA the crap out of it. We'll put like herbs on it and like scents.
I mean, you could still use that. Just be, because it's 100 DA, you don't have to send don't send hundreds of thousands of links to it. You'll be fine just sending, just send juice conservatively to the Google property. I've had situations too where I'll blast like the about us, not the about us, the about page on your Google profile, and I've had some of those get taken down too in the past. So it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does.
I don't get banned.
With your link building on Google property, just be conservative.
Yeah, we don't get banned very often, but when we do, we get banned by Google directly.
All right, about the 5 iframe patch. I want to use this technique in other languages than English, Dutch, German, but Cora is not working with German articles. So my question, is it better to look for other sites in German and Netherlands? Do you have any ideas? Or is there a way to make a second section on the mini site with English articles? punches.
Well, how about you go to Quora, get ideas for the questions in English, and then translate them into German, or vice versa. Or if it's just content you're looking for, but
hold on a sec. Keep answering.
okay.
Okay.
I think the kids just took the screaming to a whole nother level.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
So long as they didn't start the barbecue, we're all good. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you're just looking for content ideas, Google Translate is good.
Yeah.
All right.
Finally, somebody who didn't find our other humorous comments interesting found that one.
So you can use
What's that?
so in that situation, let me see. He's wondering, Core is not working in German articles, so my question is better to look. Oh, never mind. That wasn't the question I thought he was asking.
Okay.
I would be curious what question you thought he was asking, because that could be a very interesting question.
Well, so you can, you could use the same piece of content to link or rank in multiple countries. So that's what I thought he was asking. That wasn't the question.
No. But now you've given people a lot of.
That's what I was getting at also, actually. So that's
all
really
right.
good
So
one.
Dave says, I'm still confused regarding Google profile setups. If I have multiple sites, do I set up one Google plus biz page per site under my personal Google account and then verify in Webmaster Tools, or do I set up a whole new Google account for that site and set up Google biz page for only that site? So if you have a bunch of money sites, like you didn't specify what kind of sites you have. If you have a bunch of money sites, there's no problem connecting all of your money sites to your one Google profile. And you can set up a biz page for each one of your businesses. I'm assuming that each site corresponds to a different business. I've got that. I've got, I don't know, 6 or 7 biz pages in Google, one for each one of my businesses, blah, blah, blah. Is there any?
Okay. I can probably help with that one a little. Okay. Do you want me to help with that, Sue?
I thought I saw some feedback rolling down the side. Did I answer it okay?
Yeah, I think so. Dave Clark, are you here? Or?
Okay.
Good enough.
Okay, so Lorraine says, I recently set up 2 Google business pages in my name, different business addresses, plan to rank, then rent them. One is already in the 7-pack. Having watched the Network Empire training on profile setup, I can see an Illuminous footprint. Both businesses are listed on my personal Gmail dashboard. Can I undo this easily, as I want to now set up the rest of the social profiles, but not in my Gmail name? I'd like to create personal Gmail accounts and link them. Is it too late?
No. One thing you can do is similar to what you can do for Facebook, is you can have, like Sue, for instance, I have you and Jimmy as account managers or biz page managers.
Right.
Unfortunately, I've never got, for testing purposes, fortunately, but I've never had an entire account banned that had G plus pages tied to it in order to test the theory. In Facebook, I have. If you get a Facebook page banned and you still have an admin tied to the accounts that you set up from that original Facebook page, the managers will still have access to the page, so they're not orphaned. Does that make sense, Lorraine? However, in Google+, I've never tested getting the biz page creators banned while they're still connected to the sub-managers' admin pages to test that. I would presume that the managers would still have access, but you're right. One of the things we did not show you in the training of Director's Cut is how to set up admin. But everybody on our team has access to the biz pages as admin.
Yep.
And so I can't confirm whether, if you do something like Jimmy did, which is getting the whole dashboard just demolished. I really don't know if you've got sub-admins, if they will still maintain access to those pages. That's a great question. If anybody wants to experiment, I'm not liable.
Yeah, my gut hunch,
Mm-hmm.
given the way that the admin looks
Yeah.
on both sides, is that once you've given admin to the second Google account, you can disassociate it from the first Google account.
Okay, great.
That's my gut hunch.
You're
but I
probably
haven't-
right. You're probably right. And one thing I would recommend, Lorraine, is in the future, if you know you're going to lease or rent, you may want to consider creating a unique Google dashboard that could be just, separate from your core dashboard. That's just my hunch. That's the way I do it because I'm kind of paranoid and I oversimplify things at the root. I automatically assume that a dashboard is for a unique purpose. And part of that is just experience of, talking to Jimmy and everybody and watching extreme cases. And so when you know what the radical extreme case of anything is, then you hedge against it. And then you hedge all of your bets by making sure that you only utilize the accounts for things that can be self-contained. Does that make sense? Okay.
Cool. So Paul asked an interesting question. He's got HTML money sites. Doesn't want to switch them over to WordPress, which I understand. Could you set up a WordPress blog on a subdomain and get the benefits from DAS? Yes, certainly. But you can also still use DAS for your HTML site. You don't have to have a blog to use DAS. All right. Brandy, can you guys tell I'm trying to get to question 4?
Yes, we can tell. Only 279 more questions to go.
Right? We're almost there. With DAS, should we be using a different email and name for each individual Web 2.0 account? Jimmy? I'll let you answer since you're here. Otherwise, I would take a stab.
So on that one, I guess it kind of depends on what I'm doing. So when you go into Weebly, I think you can create up to 10 free accounts under the one email you use to sign up with Weebly. And, you have to be cautious because, some of these webmasters at some of these different 2.0 platforms can come and shut down your account if they think that you're being too spammy, or maybe it's a subject they don't really want you publishing. But
They totally can.
so I try not to put too many into one specific email account, just in case. Let's say I used that email on 10 different clients, and I did a different Weebly for each of those clients within that one account. If for some reason they came along and tried to shut it down, then all my work and content that I worked to build up would have been toasted,
Toast.
So I try to just diversify as much as possible, and
Definitely.
if I do use, I also kind of try to theme them as well. So if I do, if it's like the health and fitness niche or something, and I do try to go put more into there, I'm trying to theme, what I write about, even in that 2.0 property as well. If I do put more than one in there, so I just kind of play on the cautious side and always try to diversify your email accounts to what you're creating, just in case.
Cool. If I have an exact match domain, for instance, bluewidgets.com, and I want to rank blue widgets for each town, how would I silo the site? Because if I use silo builder, the URLs would be bluewidgets.com / well, just it doesn't have to be because you're using silo. The silo builder is going to set it up however you set up the keywords. And is this too heavy of a use of blue widgets? Or should I silo and just leave each town? We kind of did this. I think it was in the last Webby, wasn't it, Jimmy?
I think so. I mean, you guys have to, so can you keyword stuff the heck out of what you're doing for your silos? I mean, in most cases, you can put it in there conservatively, up to 2 times. But it really depends. Once you start hitting that page with anchor text, if you do an inbound link that's blue widget specifically, that could over-optimize. That could just send that page plummeting because obviously you're trying to rank for that.
Yeah, instead of using blue widgets, you might want to use navy thingamajig, right? So bluewidgets.com/navy thingamajig/down1. Find a synonym or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's what I would do, or just do like /widget. You could just get the singular version in there,
Okay.
and then do the town. So I mean, just pay attention to if you're inbound. This is kind of where it goes back to trying to set up your blog before you start link building. Is if you know that by using certain anchor text links or whatever, you're going to be able to rank faster, and you definitely want to keep the same pattern that you've seen rank your other sites, then I would look at the structure of what you're doing when you set up your silo, because you certainly don't want to have that keyword in there multiple times and then start including the keyword anchors inbound to that page. So whereas if you're going to send inbound anchors and they're more like generic and stuff like that, you would be safe. So it really depends on your anchor text style that you like to do to rank sites, basically.
Cool. So question number 40 is a quick question by Shane. I'm going to give it a quick answer. If you 301 a domain to your money site, and that site that you 301 has a penalty, will the penalty carry over to the money site? The answer is yes.
Yes,
All right,
it will. So you got to.
We're at the top of the answer, or top of the hour. Are there any other questions out of the question box that we should hit, Mr. Wright, before we close this webinar?
Yes, back to the 301 redirect thing. No, just kidding. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Was that question if I had any other questions, or I didn't?
Yes. Are there any other questions in the list that we need to repeat? The last question. So the last question is, if a 301 domain to my money site, so like I've got mypenalizedsite.com. If you 301 this to your money site, the penalty from mypenalizedsite.com will carry over to your money site. You don't want a 301 a penalized domain to your money site.
I was being facetious because Shane is starting to get into the area of questions that are very good questions.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's why you went past it very quickly.
No, there were a couple people that said repeat the last question.
Oh, excellent.
So
okay.
I didn't.
Yeah.
We will have a list of questions. It will. I'll take these 40 questions and pop them off to David along with the recording of the webinar, and you guys will have it up there.
Yeah, I'll be processing this webinar tonight, and usually I pass it off to him sometime before 2 a.m. Our time. So hopefully you'll have it, if not tomorrow, very soon after. I don't really have anything else to add, Sue, except to say, since we are at the top of the hour, we will continue to answer as many of the questions as we can. I also wanted to thank every one of our audience members. Amazingly, we're still at the 100-person mark or greater. We're very close. It just shows an immense amount of discipline with disciplined people, with disciplined thinking, executing really business-building tasks. And I just want to say that I'm really impressed by everybody here, and wanted to thank everyone for continuing to keep us on our toes with these amazing questions.
Did you find the stuff in the director's cut?
I did. In fact, I dropped it into the members area. Paul, if you didn't get that, just go. Does everybody see the chat area, or is the chat area too hard?
Yeah, but I was going to pull it out for everybody so that they can see it on the replay too.
Okay. Yes, I dropped it in the director's cut. Bizarrely, I can't see it in the chat. I wonder if I just ended up giving it to that person. It's right under the network info. Let me just pull it up again real quick.
Cool.
I'm going to go ahead and pull it right up again. Hang on, folks. Director's cut. And it didn't really answer that person's question because they followed along with me and they weren't seeing the same things. But I think that it'll be good for most of you. Will probably, here it is. I'm going to give you the direct link to that page.
Oh, and there's the Skyfall update that you dropped in there as well. Dang.
Why was that bad?
No, it's just I didn't get it for those guys that wanted for the replay. That's all I'm thinking.
I see. Wow, that link did not make it in there somehow. Okay, let me just put it in there again. Okay, that's going to be on the sidebar, everyone. There's two places where we have our stuff. David Mills at the top, Joe, Network Empire, and then Cotton. The areas under traffic getting under Network Empire main page, and at the bottom it's got Google Verified Publisher, and here's the link. Should I just put that in everybody chat, Sue, or should I give it to you? What do you want?
Yeah, just put it in everybody and I'll grab it.
Okay, let me just go ahead and see if I can figure out what's going on here. Okay, I'm putting that into everybody. That's all entire audience, so that should be part of that. And if you should be able to see pretty much the same thing now. There is the possibility, just so everybody knows, of doing things in a different order, where you might not, for instance, if you're setting up your Google Plus Biz page and you have not yet set up a Google Webmaster Tools, if you don't have a Google Webmaster Tools tied to the same Gmail account and or the same Google dashboard, you won't get that check mark, and I'm hoping that's maybe answering Paul's question. You won't get that check mark and you won't be able to link the accounts. It's not as easy. You're not going to see the exact same thing. You have to open a Google Webmaster Tool account tied to that same Google dashboard in order to get the results that you want there. So you might see some slight variation there, just to say, to speak to your question, Paul.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. This has been the OMG Director's Cut Network Empire team. I want to thank both Jimmy Kelly, Sue Bell, of course, our fearless leader who is single-handedly spearheading several good to great companies all at the same time, simultaneously, while trying to herd cats, because everybody who is in our company is geniuses. It's been really interesting and powerful to be able to do that and provide amazing software, and it's been an amazing experience for me to work with everybody on the team to attempt to accomplish something that's never been done before, which is create a single unified system that allows you to organize and easily syndicate content, generate traffic while building domain authority all at the same time, just so you know what our company, Y-Power, is all about. This is what we're here to do. We're here to make it simple, and I know that we're still in the process of expressing and explaining everything to you guys, but just know that in this group, in the Director's Cut and in Network Empire, there's people coming from all walks of life. Each and every one of you has a dream and a vision that you're trying to execute, and this community is becoming stronger and better regardless of what your level of skill is. If you're still kind of overwhelmed and you're having that whole process of like rebuilding your whole brain, well, that's okay, because you will get it. You have to be exposed to this material. The good news is, regardless of how you're experiencing it, continual exposure, it'll start to become simple for you and easy. And for those of you who already get it and are super advanced, I've met a few of you inside the Director's Cut who already have a lot of skill, and you're learning stuff as well. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you. The next Director's Cut Network Empire FAQ session is going to be next Tuesday, and the next Tuesday event, rather than being in the evening, we're going to alternate back to the 1 o'clock Phoenix time, isn't it, Sue?
I think it's noon.
Noon?
Phoenix.
Okay. Noon Phoenix time. And that allows people who might not be able to reach the evening to get an opportunity in the afternoon. That helps people in different parts of the planet, attend our webinar. So thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on the next call, and please do submit your questions so that our team can address it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.